A vague disclaimer is no one's friend. This podcast will look at episodes in relation to Buffy and Angel as a whole, and therefore contains spoilers for the entirety of both series. If you haven't seen all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel the series, go and watch them before you listen to this. Remember, you've been warned.
The hardest thing in this world is to live in it.
That's why there's us, champions. We live as though the world were as it should be, to show it what it can be.
The Earth is definitely doomed.
It's Tuesday, so it must be time to return to the Hellmouth. We're going through the Buffyverse episode by episode in a look back at Joss Whedon's iconic show. I'm Emcee, and I'm here with...
Yo, it's Andie.
I'm David.
Hi, I'm Jan.
And I'm Logan.
So this week we are reviewing episode 3 of season 2, School Hard. It originally aired September 29th, 1997. The story was by David Greenwalt and Joss Whedon. The teleplay was by David Greenwalt, and it was directed by John T. Kretschmer. And is this the first one we've seen from Kretschmer? I know he is he directed a couple episodes. He is a director that I seem to recall from coming up a lot for Buffy. And I totally should have looked this up before
That's okay.
before the actual episode, but he is just looking at his IMDb. Oh, he actually only did 2 episodes, but he did The Harvest.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
Oh, okay, that's where we know.
That's why he sounds familiar.
Yes.
But he did a bunch of episodes for other stuff that I really love, so...
Oh, apparently recently he's been directing iZombie.
Oh!
Yeah, I was going to mention that, yeah.
Show. That's a great show. Very Buffy-esque, that show.
Very.
He was also, he did a bunch of Veronica Mars in this.
Yeah.
So.
Makes sense.
That's why I know the name.
Yeah, I recognize his
Rob
name
Thomas
from other shows, too. But because I looked him up last night, but I can't remember now. Because I'd never watched Veronica Mars, but I know he did like a lot of other genre stuff, too, so...
Yeah, no, he's very common genre director. So.
He gets around. He's also done Burn Notice and White Collar and Army Wives.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why? Yeah, I think he did a lot of stuff on USA. I think he did a couple of Sykes and White Collar also, like you said. So yeah, he was. I noticed there's a lot of USA shows.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Charmed.
But yeah.
Okay.
But I mean the fact that it was directed by him is not the most memorable part of this episode. No. The most memorable part of this episode is fucking Spike and Drew.
Finally!
Yay!
I was thinking about this as I was watching, and I'm like, not since, I would say, Prophecy Girl have we had such an iconic episode that has so much impact on this world.
Oh, definitely.
I
This
don't know.
is
I think
a turning
it might be
point.
even more iconic than Prophecy Girl, which I love and is really kind of...
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is that true start of what gels Buffy.
This is when season 2 starts.
I was just gonna say this is like the iconic. This is the show. This, like, if there was anybody I was trying to get into the show, this probably would be one of the first episodes I'd show them.
Yeah,
probably.
It's definitely like a gateway drug episode. This is the best of the show. This is why you should like it.
Oh,
and also, as watching it, just as an aside, I mean, I loved Spike, and then I wound up hating Spike because of the whole Spike Buffy thing and fandom, but going back and watching this again, it was like, this is why I fucking love Spike. This is how I fucking love Spike.
Yeah.
Before he became like this dish rag, annoying, romantic, whatever. And Drusilla is just everything.
And I need to talk about the opening sequence, both parts of it, because the beginning with Snyder talking to the 2 girls, his speech at the beginning is really fucking awesome.
In this episode, more than almost anything else, he reminds me of Count Olaf from A Series of Unfortunate Events. He hates children and orphans, and someone's gonna get expelled.
Yeah.
I smell an expulsion!
Armin Shimmerman is so good in that opening, though I do wonder if Sheila has physically harmed a teacher. How the fuck has she not been expelled yet?
Pruning shears. That's unbelievable.
I want to know how Snyder can't tell the difference between a trowel and pruning shears.
Yeah.
Those are not similar implements.
No, they're really not.
I don't see Snyder doing a lot of gardening, so maybe he's just not around a lot.
Yeah.
I have a theory.
That it's a demon?
It's a demon.
Okay.
Yeah. No. I have a theory that Snyder has been told something about Buffy, or feels like he knows something about Buffy.
Yeah.
If you get to the end, I mean, just the discussion with the police chief, obviously he knows these are not gang members on PCP, and they're already covering up supernatural stuff, so I think he knows something more about Buffy, too.
That's in my notes, actually.
Buffy not being expelled, I completely understand. But Sheila has absolutely no fucking excuse. And I mean...
Oh, no, none.
She's injured a teacher. Why is she getting this chance? I have so many issues with Sheila.
Yeah.
Well, I think Willow's excuse is just the fact that, well,
fair enough.
They're all afraid of her, so they let her stay. But that seems weird. Snyder's not afraid of anybody. I mean, even if he should be.
I also suspect that the bar for getting in trouble in Sunnydale is just higher than in other places.
I don't know, because I'm watching this and I'm like, Buffy hasn't
really hasn't
done anything.
To be fair, it sounds like Buffy is being held responsible for the science building being burned down in the last episode.
Yeah, because she does actually make reference to it when she says not exactly what in school, and then Sheila's like, oh, cool, or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of mice who smoke.
I don't think that Snyder knows that Buffy's the Slayer. Because we know...
No, I don't think he's that informed
there's going to be
yet.
a line, I think, somewhere at the end of the season where they talk about, do you want to bring the mayor into this? And he's like, no. So I think he's been informed of the supernatural population, but I think he thinks Buffy's like a demon.
Probably the mayor has said, keep this girl here and, keep tabs on her.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, he's been told to keep tabs on her. And so, because she really, like I said, she hasn't done anything really at school. She's cut class. But compared to Sheila, she's done, nothing to warrant this kind of focused hatred.
Scrutiny.
The the Snyder Mad-on.
Yeah.
So.
But I think Buffy, I think Snyder just has it out for Buffy because she's kind of like, I mean, Sheila is trouble, but Buffy kind of exemplifies the lack of discipline that Snyder clearly abhors. And it's like, he's just like, he just has a thing against Buffy.
I kind of wonder if based off how we see him in Band Candy and Buffy's line in Becoming Part 1 where she says, you never got a single date in high school. I'm wondering if Buffy looks like the chick that rejected Snyder.
Okay.
I buy that.
He's kind of into Joyce during Band Candy, so...
He is really into Joyce during Band Candy, but I have that in my notes how much I'd like to explore more, ideally, of Snyder's knowledge of the reality of Sunnydale. And if it's just, sort of... He doesn't have the blinders that apparently every single other adult in that town has.
And I mean, it's so weird because it's almost like he just doesn't care. Because if you actually look at Graduation Day Part 2, right before he dies, when the mayor has transformed into Alvacon, and the only problem that Snyder has is that there's no order going on. So it's almost. I mean, it's quite possible that maybe Snyder has been enchanted or something to just ignore, to be aware of everything that's going on, but to just not care.
Interesting.
You also have to question in this episode, if he knows as much as he obviously knows, why does he try to get out of that room?
Because he's a dumbass.
He's scared shitless at that point, so I think that's fight or flight, and he's certainly the flight type. So even if I think he knows something rationally, at that point he's just like, in fact, if you think about it in some ways, if you think there's vampires coming out to get him and he knows what a vampire is, he's going to want to get his ass out of there immediately. He's not going to want to hang around and get eaten.
Yeah, okay.
Back to this opening sequence. We have this opening is cut into two parts. So we have the part with Snyder. Then we have a little tiny bridge with the Scooby Gang and Xander jinxing the fuck out of them. And then we get to what is the most iconic opening of a Buffy episode ever.
Oh
yeah, I just wrote in big letters.
I was actually trying to think about it. It's like, what openings of Buffy episodes are more iconic than this? And I was like, nothing is more iconic than this. This is number one on the list. I was able to come up with the top 5. Number 2 is the opening with Darla from Welcome to the Hellmouth. And then I'd also probably put For Innocence when you find out that Angel has turned into Angelus.
And I would say the beginning of the body.
And the beginning of the body. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of like where I hit on this on the list, but definitely this one. I mean, this one was so iconic that they repeat it again in Lover's Walk, and I mean, of course, like it's so iconic that we used the sign for Welcome to Sunnydale for the logo for our podcast.
Of course we did.
I do wonder what it says about me that you're sort of thinking, this is so iconic, and my thought is, how much does Sunnydale have to spend on, like, city signs?
Yeah, their budget must be incredible. Yeah, I do have a question. When Spike gets out of his car and sort of drops the first line we hear from him, "Home Sweet Home," is he just talking about the Hellmouth in general? Because I can't think of his actual...
He's never been to Sunnydale. He's just basically saying it's like, this is home now.
I thought it was because he's coming back to the Master's crew.
Possible, though I actually don't know if Spike and Drew were ever technically members of the Order of Aurelius, because Drusilla was made by Angelus, and Angelus was introduced to the Master, but he was basically rejected by the Master in their first meeting, and then he and Darla went off together. Then they made Drusilla, and then Drusilla made Spike, and all of them spent a bunch of time together. I guess the fandom has kind of nicknamed them the Whirlwind, based off of a line from Darla, which when people started to refer to them as that, I was like, where the fuck did that come from? But
I always heard them referred to as the Fang Gang.
I have heard them referred to as the Fang Gang, but then that is also applied to Angel Investigations, so.
Or the Fanged Four.
Yeah.
I've heard that one a lot, too.
Yeah. But over the last maybe 5 years or so, the Whirlwind has become, like, really popular, so. Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, so technically, Spike and Drew have never actually done anything with the Order of Aurelius, unless they came in and did something like after they had left Angel, because they were with Darla for a while, though I can't see Darla really keeping them around, because I think she only...
I don't know, I bet the Master would love Drusilla. Like, I bet he would flat out be like, you're amazing.
Probably.
Like, you're so weird and amazing. But,
yeah.
You know. We don't know that for sure.
I want comics of, the history of Spike and Drusilla with the Order of Aurelius. I want a comic where Spike is at fucking Woodstock.
Oh, that's it. That's what sold me on James Marsters. Is like, because we hadn't seen him at a vamp phase. Well, he doesn't go to vamp phase when Drusilla comes in the room, but his whole speech about, like, Woodstock and the flower people and,
Yeah, I spent the next 6 hours watching my hand move.
And then Nancy Boy, and then Who Am I Kidding? I Love to Brag. I was like, I don't know who you are really yet, but I love it.
I give James Marsters such a fucking hard time these days, because Spike got tiresome after a while, and James Marsters is kind of skeevy, but fucking Spike in this episode, he is so good.
Yeah, my only complaint about him in this, and I wrote it down here, is that what the fuck is that accent, though?
Yeah.
Because his accent improves as the series goes on, but here he's all over the place. He's a little bit Cockney, he's a little bit north of England, he's just a mess.
I kind of have the same thing with Drusilla. I kind of like, where is her
James
accent
Marsters? James Marsters has not quite yet nailed the accent because he has not spent enough time with Tony Head.
Yeah,
because that accent,
because Tony was his dialect.
That accent is Tony's real life accent. So he will eventually kind of get it. Though I mean, when I was first watching this as a stupid 14-year-old kid, I was like, oh, this British guy is so hot. And then of course it took me like a year to realize that it's like, oh wait, no, he's like not English. Yeah.
Well, I remember the fandom, and interviews coming out and things like that, talking about these two vampires that were coming. So I think we expected them. There were a few, not big spoilers. So there was like an anticipation of these two new folks coming on board. And, I think the trivia that a lot of people know is that Spike was supposed to be
Southern. Yes, Texan, to be specific.
And then they changed the direction of...
I am wondering if if they had made him Texan,
Oh, really?
if
I
he
didn't
would have
know.
been wearing a Stetson.
Oh god.
Right. He would have been like Lyle and Texas.
Oh, God.
So I'm really glad
We
they
will
didn't
get
go.
to that episode.
Oh yeah.
Episodes,
terrible.
actually.
Yeah.
And also, like, seriously, I give James Marsters a hard time, but damn, he was fucking hot.
Oh my god, yes.
Exactly. Yeah, I just was like, this is. I suddenly remembered why I loved him so much, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, he's squeeful. He's absolutely perfect in this episode, except for the dodgy accent, and that's okay. His acting, his lines, his everything, like, supersedes.
And Drusilla is fantastic. Drusilla, played by Juliet Landau, Martin Landau's
love
daughter.
her.
She actually did not have to audition for this role. Joss just really liked the movie Ed Wood, which is, you know, good taste, because as
Yay.
much trouble as I give Johnny Depp, Ed Wood is a fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
And strange bit of trivia, but one of the two writers of Ed Wood is actually the husband of a friend of mine from college who was my friend's former fiance. So, like, 2 degrees of separation, but I've never met Scott
Nice.
Alexander. But I always think that's kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
but just a
Yeah.
weird aside.
Yes.
Yeah, and so she ended up getting the role of Drusilla without auditioning for it. I think there had been some talk about possibly making her Southern back when they were talking about making Spike a Texan, but she didn't want to sound like Blanche Dubois. So,
Right.
Mm.
I got that note once in an audition. They're like, "Can you dial that back?" I'm like, "A little less Blanche Dubois for us, because you're doing great, but pull it back." So, you know, apparently that's everybody's fear when they try to do an accent like
but
that.
I mean, so much of this episode is just iconic, because that scene of them with their heads together and when they turn to face the Anointed One, that is just, like, every time I think of Spike and Drusilla, I think of that moment. And that is another thing that they call back. They call it back in Something Blue with Buffy, which, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think also, like, for me, Spike and Drew is also, it's just like the perfect mix of, like, black humor and what the fuck is this, and scary, but not like, you know, gross scary. They're really great characters, and the two of them pull it off. And also,
and it's so weird that they are together, because Spike is so modern, like with this Billy Idol hair and just, you know, punk rock. And then there is this delicate Victorian Gothic girl who, you know, is so frail and everything. And you know, Spike is all like, oh, I'm, you know, bored and I'm gonna go kill things. And then he's like, oh, baby, I'm going to take care of you. It's...
Yes, well, we will eventually learn that
is
Spike
true.
was not always
Right,
like
but
this.
at this point, we had no idea.
He was also a frail Victorian princess. So
What? I'm
Yes!
sorry, I missed that,
important to
Logan.
keep in mind. I said he was also a frail Victorian princess.
I love you.
Oh, Bill. Okay.
He was sort of, yeah. Yeah, but we didn't know
No.
any of this, so all of a sudden you have these completely, you know, and Drusilla, Juliet Landau, really fits into that sort of 90s gothy, like, you know, I loved her nails.
Yeah.
I coveted her, like,
Oh, yeah.
weird French manicure thing.
I did those, yeah.
Like, ugh.
I still do those, actually, if I'm, like, if I know my nails aren't going to chip, so.
Right, yeah. I've done them a couple of times, but yeah.
Yeah, no, Juliet Landau really nails it right out of the gate. She gets the spookiness and frailty of Drusilla right away. I like Spike. I think is going to still develop a bit, but Drusilla she's just Drusilla right now. That's not. There's not going to be any change
unless
for a long
until
time.
you get over to Angel, when she's suddenly not wearing the Victorian dresses and she's wearing very fancy, like, leather pants and stuff, and that weird flashback from the girl in question, which is just, like, kind of blows my mind when she's wearing the little, like, cigarette pants and saying ciao. Oh my god, it's like
so
my favorite.
Great. I know.
Um
That very hipster, snappy fingers, like 60s. Yeah. I love
I could
that.
tell so much about Spike and Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mean also like Drew is just like as a character so wonderful because she's just like this weird, Mrs. Rochester in the attic, as you said, goth girl, and she's batshit crazy. But there's something actually, and she's a vampire, but there's something absolutely lovable about her. I mean, it's just like she just draws you in.
Further along in these stories, we're Drew can be very problematic because of the batshit crazy, I'm using quote fingers, and sort of the portrayal of mental illness and where, and the sort of Joss frail girl with the fucked up mind kind of repeated motif that he goes to. But I mean, I still love her. And in this episode, they're just amazing. I
think one of the cool things about Drew is, and I think we will get more into this later once Angelus comes into things, but Drusilla is almost Madonna and horror at the same time.
Yeah,
because she is so childlike and innocent, but she is she totally plays Spike and Angelus against each other. So yeah, I mean, she's just she's so complex, and she's only in 27 episodes across the two series. She does not play into a lot of episodes, but what you get is so rich, and I think there's still a mystery behind her, so you want to know more about her, but you don't get it. And after a while, actually, Juliet Landau would keep on pitching episodes to her, but after season 5 of Buffy, she refused to appear in any present day stuff because she was worried they were going to kill her off.
That's great. That's one way to protect
I'm only
yourself
going
on
to do
a show.
flashbacks.
Yeah.
So that's
good
on
and
her.
I think with Spike, with the Drusilla's hitting it right out of the gate with Drusilla, while Spike took a little while. Spike was only planned to be in like 3 or 4 episodes before he died. So
he was supposed to die in What's My Line, like in that whole thing. So
so I think that might also contribute to him, taking a while to build up. And I don't know how much James Marsters had done on. I mean, he was a stage actor, but I don't know if he had done much television work before this. Meanwhile, Juliet Landau had done Ed Wood, but she had done other work. So it's possible he was still trying to get his feet on the actual acting of.
And also, I think there's probably a difference between like writing somebody who you think is going to be only like a short-term villain, and how much you're going to put into it versus somebody who suddenly becomes like a long-term villain, and then like it or not a long-term protagonist of sorts. Yeah. So So then they had, also if they were going to make him more sympathetic, which they did, they had to like turn things around also. So yeah. So I think that's the other reason he kind of is not coming out fully formed. He's kind of got to evolve as things go on.
Yeah, it's totally reasonable that happened. I guess I don't know. I only brought that up in comparison to Drew.
And I mean, I think in this episode he's pretty fully. We get you see what you get what you see, and there's some more development later. But I think he's really. Oh God, what is the word I'm looking for this episode for School Hard? I think it's an amazing introduction.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I can't think of a better introduction of a new character in any show I've watched. Like really, like
he's got a pretty good introduction.
He really does, and I love Spike, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out with all of us as we get later on in the seasons, because I am an avowed to the end of the earth Spuffy shipper. So, there may be some, contention in a good way. So.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Well, believe me, I am very, very much against them as a couple of Spuffy. So therefore, I think they'll be worse.
Yeah, good-naturedly.
Oh, geez, so I've got some backup on this, is what you're saying.
I go back and forth on them.
This brings up a question that I've been trying to puzzle out. So you talk about Spuffy shipping. What the heck would Angel and Buffy's couple name be?
Bangle.
Bangle. Okay.
Spangle.
What would Buffy and like Healthy Mentality? What would that ship name be?
Huffy.
I don't know. I
of mind.
imprinted on it
Peace
as a
of mind.
baby duckling, okay? And there's some incredible writers in this Buffy fandom that have done some really cool stuff with Spike that you don't... Sometimes when I ship stuff, I don't really care what's happening on screen. I just want to read this really cool... I don't know.
Honestly, for me and Spuffy, it's like, as of this episode, like, I was shipping them fucking hardcore. I was shipping them up until, like, in Once More with Feeling, when they kiss, I, like, freaked the fuck out. But then by the time we got to Smashed, I was like, I'm not into this.
Yeah, I'm so into Drew and Spike as a thing, and I don't know if they have a ship name, and I don't care, that Buffy doesn't even enter into the equation. I just, like, want those two together
makes sense.
forever.
Well, I think it's
With
fair
little
to
hearts.
acknowledge the chemistry between Sarah and James, especially that scene where their big confrontation and the school and the weapons comment and that entire back and forth is really,
It really
good.
is.
Especially how nonchalantly Sarah plays that. It's really good.
Yeah, I'm just, me personally, I'm not somebody who, like, oh, they're enemies, so therefore they have to be sleeping together. I'm much more of, like, people who get together and people who are already, like, friends, or there's that kind of chemistry, more positivity. I mean, I know it's a thing in fandom, but it's just like, not my trope.
Yeah, I mean,
So.
again, it imprinted on me like a baby duckling at age of 22 or 23, and I just can't seem to quit it. And, you know, it's sort of...
And I mean, certainly they were
time.
setting things up, like that first scene where Spike is stalking Buffy and watching her. It is so predatory and sexy, and it is all tensiony, and it's like, you already know that Spike is in love with her. The only thing that ruins that scene for me is the overenthusiastic extra dancing behind James Marsters.
Yes, I was going to say
She
that.
looks like she's trying to take flight.
She is thrilled to be that close to him. Absolutely.
But I will say...
That whole scene kind of bothers me because it's obviously they're dancing and there's no music playing. Because if you watch, like, to the actual music that's going on, the way people are moving, it's completely out of sync. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Okay, but Xander's little dance that he does, like, when you can see him in the background and the girls are talking, and he's just doing this stupid dance. It's endearing to me, and it's one of the reasons why I actually do like Xander sometimes, because I appreciate a man that is not afraid to get out on the dance floor, and even though he looks absolutely dorky, he's gonna do it because he's having fun anyway. And so I love watching Xander dance. I think he's adorable.
In background things that bug Emcee, when the band Nickel is playing, when they're just about to start their second song, you can see a poster for them, and it is a poster specifically for the song they're about to play. And I immediately flashed to when they were first airing Buffy. And at the end of each episode, they have, like, the album cover. And it's like, this episode of Buffy featured music from... And so that's immediately what I thought of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did that, and they did that on...
They did it on all of the WB shows.
Too. All the WB. They really sort of had a symbiosis with...
It's not like back then you could be like, hey, Siri, what song is this? Oh, God, I hope my phone doesn't go off. All right, we're good.
Yeah, there wasn't even iTunes then, so you couldn't just, like, rush to iTunes and, like, download it. You had to actually...
Or go on LimeWire.
Be like, go into FYE and be like, hey, do you know...
Since we're talking about the music... both the songs in it are from the Bronze, and they're from the same band called Nickel. The first one is Thousand Nights, which is played when Willow is helping Buffy with her French, and the second one is Stupid Thing, and that's the Spike stalking song, and I still really like that song.
I was gonna say I actually don't know the band, but I might have to go and look.
So the scene of them in the Bronze, when Willow and Buffy are practicing French. Jan might be the only person who appreciates this, but when Willow translates what Buffy says, I really wanted it to be "the fish eat my furniture."
Apparently,
so,
Jan is the only person who appreciates
reference
that. Yep.
to Elephant Parts, which is Michael Nesmith video that came out in the 80s. It's actually kind of the birth of the music video, and there's a sketch in it where he is translating a Spanish love song. And in it is, and it's just all of these nonsensical lines, and one of them is, "The fish eat my furniture, no running by the pool."
My clothes are radioactive.
I mean, I saw that when it aired, but I don't remember that guy. I do remember him singing Guantanamera with a bunch of Mexican musicians, and then when they realize he's actually singing One Ton Tomato instead of Guantanamera, they just all leave.
I used to work at a video store when I was in college, and that came out, and that was one of the things we played in the store. Like,
it's amazing.
My boss really loved it, so it was a time when I used to be able to like repeat it all verbatim, and now it's kind of just fuzzy in the background.
I don't think I've actually seen it since it aired, so
I have it on DVD. If we ever get together, and
I recommend everybody track it down because it is one of my favorite things of all time. Because I'm a huge Michael Nesmith fan.
Elvis Drugs.
Yeah, the Spanish and the bronze it's adorable.
French.
Oh, the French.
Sorry, I brought up Spanish.
And that's going to come up a couple of times throughout this season, all the bad French. So.
Yeah, and actually, what remnants of my high school French remain tell me that Willow's description of what Buffy said is pretty much exactly straight on.
Fairly accurate.
It's like she says that, but wrong.
I think I was not listening with good audio, so it was like I picked up the part about lavash, and it was like, okay, something about a cow. For some reason, I was thinking of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes.
As in fetch a lavash.
Fetch a lavash.
Yes.
It's the cow should touch me from Thursday, I believe, is what.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So that actually good line there and good catch, Clara. So. But that whole scene, I mean, like, I think, I don't know, it also sets up Spike also, just in terms of, he's not as stupid as he sometimes is portrayed. I mean, he actually is really good in terms of getting strategy in this episode, so, and using people. I love the fact that he sets up the big goon and, like, go outside and get something to eat, and then 2 seconds later, oh no, there's a guy eating a girl.
It serves two purposes, because he gets to watch Buffy. It serves three purposes, actually. He gets to see Buffy's fighting style. He gets to put some thoughts in his spank bank, because you know that happened. And 3, he gets rid of that annoying vampire who was giving him a hard time at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
Right, that's like my first thing. It's like, oh, you're a brilliant little bastard.
Oh, I mean, personally, I seriously think part of it is just setting up some of that Slayer fantasy, because he's got a thing for Slayers who are able to kick his ass.
He does,
and because it also comes up with Nikki, that he had a thing for Nikki too. So,
I mean, how can you not though? Look at Nikki.
Which one?
Both of them. Both of them are super hot.
I personally prefer the OG. Nikki,
original OG Nikki was smoking hot.
Who did not beg for her life, despite what Spike says in this. He's so full of shit.
I read somewhere that was a comic book or something.
In the Angel episode Damage, there is a Slayer who has been basically broken mentally, and she channels all of the other Slayers like they're. Because she's getting Slayer dreams and she is not able to mentally process it. So she ends up saying lines from other Slayers, and so she ends up, saying, please, I have to get home to my son Robin. But we don't know if that was actually a thought that Nikki had or if that's something that she actually said to Spike. Personally, I think Spike is just full of shit, because...
Spike's a bragger. I mean, Spike's gonna brag and say he did stuff that he maybe kind of did. But he's always going to embellish that story,
Because he's a sensitive poet at heart. So,
Right.
It's creative license.
Even if it were just a mix-up between the 2 Slayers he's killed, he makes a point of saying that he doesn't speak Chinese when he kills the woman in the Boxer Rebellion. So he's like, it could be true. You don't know. She could have been Megan. Yeah, tell my sister I love her. Is that what she says? Yeah.
No, that's what she says.
Am I mixing that up with Lost?
Oh, God. Sorry, there's so much... Oh my God, Spike's history, and just I'm gonna have so much fun when I get to fool for Love and Darla.
Ugh, right? I love Spike. I can't help it. I love him. Not as much as I love Giles now. When I was 23, oh my god, all about Spike. Now I'm sort of like, Giles is such a more healthy
God, yes.
And is a reformed bad boy that is very supportive, and which is great, which is, you know, in my 40s what I need for my relationships. But back then, oh hell, leather pants, fangs, bleach blonde hair. I was all about that. So.
You see, I think that's part of it with me and why I'm not, because I was older when I was watching this. I was 30-something. Around, it was at 2000, whenever, like I said, I was watching season 1 and everything concurrently with season 6. So I was over, like, the bad boy. It's like, why, you know, to go into other fandoms, I was never really into Eric Northman in True Blood, Sookie Stackhouse fandom for the same reason. I'm, like, over the bad boys. You know, which is not to say I want, like, you know, Marshmallow, whatever, you know, boring people, but yeah, so Spike, I love Spike, but I like Spike as an antagonist and a, you know, a would-be stalker.
Yeah, well, I was 14,
so
I was all fucking about it, because that's what you're like when you're 14.
Oh, yeah. If I'd been 14 when I was watching this, I would have been the biggest Spike fan.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, I end up getting issues. It's like, I liked Spike when he and Buffy were trying to kill each other. I wanted Buffy and Spike to try and kill each other, and then just, like, hate fuck. And...
Oh, see, that would be perfect. I could deal with that, just not the mushy, slushy stuff we get later on.
Originally in the fandom, this Buffy shipping phenomenon really started. It started a little bit here, but it was after season 2 when they teamed up, and then he left with Drew. There were these really cool, dark stories, you know, that they were really great. And that's kind of what the fandom doesn't write about with Spike anymore. But at the time, it was a totally different sort of way to ship it than I would say.
Yeah, well, people had basically like a year where they could do shit with Spike. Because he only had like that one appearance in season 3, and you don't really get a whole lot of, you know, all you find out is that he loves bitch, and that's basically all of his character development in the episode. He's still Spike. He's still Spike from season 2.
Yes, he is still Spike from season 2, and I think it was... Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
It's not until he's chipped.
It was interesting. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Moving on.
Because I was going to say, for me also, because I came in later, and like I said, I was at season 6, so a lot of things were already sort of carved in stone. A lot of the fanfic and a lot of the people I knew in fandom were like over-the-top romance, hearts and flowers, and Spike is just this little, you know, romantic domestic.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's what I
couldn't do. I was never into that. I was
for me, that was
more
just
about redemption and communication and learning, and I really like a lot of post-season 7 Buffy stuff that, you know, as we go forward, I can recommend that I just adore. But maybe because of the writing. It's a lot of the writing, so...
The other problem for me, I knew that a lot of the reason that Buffy became was because they were kind of catering to the fandom, and that's something that really bugs me. And we'll talk about that more later, but that's like a big issue with me.
Get together when they did. I was like, interesting. So
yes, moving on to this episode, because there is we're in season 2, and this is stuff from season 6. So
yeah, for sure.
Well, we did skip over a couple of scenes that I think are kind of, one of which is pretty significant for me.
Yeah!
The scene with Buffy and Joyce.
Yes.
Yes.
Because this episode is clearly the Joyce's transition point. Because, you know, she does this whole speech about, like, she starts off going, it's like, I know life is about more than grades and studying. But, you know, don't make me have to move again. And it's like, oh, okay, Joyce, great parenting, thanks. And of course, by the end of the episode, she has a much greater. She talks about Buffy disappointing her, which is kind of harsh. But by the end of the episode, she clearly has much more respect for Buffy than she did in the beginning.
Well, I think when it starts out, she hasn't seen her in action, doesn't know what she's doing, so she just thinks she's just kind of like this she still thinks she's like, you know, vacuous Buffy who likes shopping, and then apparently is a juvenile delinquent, and then suddenly she sees her taking care of everything, saving people. I mean, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing that happens is Buffy picks up a chair and throws it at a bunch of vampires, or, you know, those guys with the weird faces,
Right.
as they're coming to attack.
And I gotta say, really, Spike gets knocked to the ground and out of commission for a few seconds because he got hit with a chair.
Thrown by the Slayer.
That's not impressive.
I always think about Joyce, especially now that I'm a little older, that I don't think Joyce or Hank, horrible as he is, ever expected. You have a nice little white family living in LA, and you don't expect your kids
yes.
to get in that kind of trouble because it's not expected. So I think Joyce has to sort of go through a seismic shift, and she does move to Sunnydale.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, to start over, but also as a way of distancing herself from her ex and the divorce and starting over. And she owns her own business and is trying to be a strong single mother. She just doesn't always succeed, but she is freaking amazing in this episode. I love her.
Yeah,
Yes.
for me, this episode, even more than the introduction of Spike, who I, despite the shit I will inevitably talk about him, do love a lot, is great because we get an exploration of Joyce and Buffy's relationship, which ultimately makes what is, like, Buffy sees, I think, is her mother's betrayal and Ted later in the season even more poignant, because, you know, she felt, I think she did feel that they were making some headway into Joyce being a little more accepting of her mysterious after school.
This episode is kind of like the end of the road in terms of the Joyce just showing up to be like, now Buffy, you know, you're gonna get in trouble if you sneak out and, you know, get into fights and stuff. That because with each subsequent appearance, she is more of a character rather than just an obstacle for Buffy to overcome.
I can really see where Buffy gets some of the strong spirit and need to protect. Joyce goes back for Buffy. She's not gonna save herself, you know. She
threatens what she sees as a gang member on drugs with an axe. My queen.
Yeah, I mean, she's...
Yeah.
Well, I think everything is set up because there's the foreshadowing at the very beginning, you know, when Snyder first meets her and he says, oh, well, I can see a family resemblance. And it's like, then we get to see why. Yeah, I mean, Joyce is awesome in terms of, like, her daughter. And it just, like, it works.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those episodes where more pieces are falling into place, where we get what we will think of as Buffy. Because Joyce becomes more active, we get Spike. And we get a little more of the sort of Spike, Drew, Angel, the first introduction of the Spike, Drew, Angel thing, or at least Spike and Angel. And so, like, this is like the first episode where we have Buffy, as we will
Random bit
come
of
to
trivia.
know.
This is actually the first episode where we get Joyce's first name. Before this, she was always Buffy's mother or Mrs. Summers, so she is Joyce for the first time.
Oh
wow.
Nice.
Cool. I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's really interesting. Speaking of Angelus and Angel's singular,
oh my god,
unhelpfulness this episode, how great was it when he's like, yeah, Spike is dangerous, bye.
Yeah, I wrote down right here that Angel just shows up to be Basil Exposition and then leaves. And it's like, what?
Why does Giles have to search for this information? You could have just said it in the 20 seconds it took for you to quietly back out of the
because
library.
He doesn't want to own up to his past at this point. But yeah.
Because he's undead liar guy. Which is just like one of the best lines out of Xander, I think. It's just like, you're a liar, undead liar guy.
But I'm going to say David Boreanaz in the scene with Spike is awesome. That is the moment where I'm like, oh my god, you're not terrible. Because he's Angelus for just a few seconds there. You know,
and he gets a moment of comedic acting, which I think y'all discussed David being excellent.
Yeah. And he's good at being evil.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm reminded of John Wayne was never considered by many a great actor, but he appeared in I don't even know how many John Ford westerns. But when Howard Hawks had him in Red River, apparently Ford said to Hawks that after seeing Red River, he's like, I looked at that and I said, he can act.
He's really good in The Quiet.
Oh, he's
Man.
great.
But
one of the with David, I know that David and Sarah love each other, like, you know, forever and ever and ever. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they have really good chemistry together as actors, because I mean, it seems like David has better chemistry with a lot of, like, with James, he has fantastic chemistry.
With Spike?
Yeah, I mean, like, Joss himself, true. When Spike finally comes over onto Angel as a regular, he actually says, it took 5 years, but we finally found a love interest for Angel. Just because their chemistry was so good.
True. Oh, their chemistry is amazing. You totally knew they were doing it. At some point.
I think they come, honestly... I'm
that's canon. Joss has admitted to that.
For me, the best.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Spike and Angel doing it.
Oh no! Yeah, you guys want to talk about that? Because I'll talk about that. But no, I mean, I think the time it was most believable for me was is in season 7 when they have their moment in the graveyard. I'm like, oh right, these are two people who. Mm-hmm. Are utterly in love with each other for a very long time. That I believe that now, but up until that point, all these years later, I'm still just like, all right, I guess.
And I mean that scene in season 7 is also, these are two people who are in love, but also are on completely different paths. So I mean, almost like absolutely. The awkwardness that Sarah and David have with their chemistry works in their favor in that scene when they've been separated for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, this entire season is just going to be me pouring buckets of salt on the entire Bangle thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a different kind of chemistry, but it is not, I mean, you get that scene with Sarah and James, the very first one, and you're like, boom.
Yeah.
It's like these two lights shining, and you're like, whoa. Because they're just spark immediately. Yeah. Which is weird, because Sarah does not like James nearly as much as she likes David.
Yeah, I'm sort of the descending here, but I'm not a rabid, hardcore, Bangle shipper. I think the only ship that really matters to me is probably, like, Willow and Oz on the show. But I like it. I'm okay. I accept it. I can see it, but it's not, like, this burning, thing that I have to, like, focus on. But I see some chemistry, but I agree that she definitely had more chemistry with James Marster. But maybe it's because she didn't know him as well. I mean, sometimes it that kind of works against you as an actor. If you know somebody too well, it's kind of hard to, like, project.
I mean, part of it might be David's, still trying to get a handle on acting, but him being... You know what, actually, now that I'm saying this, I think this is it, because I had the same problem with Angel and Cordelia. David's not really good at being the romantic interest.
No, he's not. Huh.
Yeah, which is a shame, because...
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I hated Angel until he got over onto his own show, when he is the lead, and he is able to be funny, and most of his relationships are friendships or, familial. So when he is actually forced into that romantic lead, he falls completely flat for me.
He does, I think. I mean, and I think I've said this before, that I was buying into Buffy and Angel. It was presented on screen to me, and I tend to go, oh, here's the thing you're presenting? As long as I don't find it, and at the time, now I find it super problematic, but at the time I wasn't really thinking about it, and I remember being very heartbroken about what will happen later in this season with them, and but David doesn't do the romantic. He's a romantic hero in terms of persona, but just his chemistry with people are pretty not. Same thing on Bones. I mean, I thought they were nice friends, but when they got him into any romantic thing, I was like, oh yeah, you guys just don't work.
Oh, see, I thought it worked much better.
I mean, of course, by
Bones, because he's a lot more experienced. But
when they finally pulled the trigger, I wasn't about it. But the years building
I mean,
up
of course, by Bones, I mean David had been acting for much longer. Like he'd had like 8-9 years of like being a regular on a show. So
no, and David does become a really solid. I think he's fairly overlooked as an actor because he's very solid. He is apparently very hardworking, and things you hear from sets of shows, people really like him on set. The stuff you hear about him outside of work, forget about it. But, you know, yeah, he's very solid, and he's getting there, and he will get there, and I think this scene between him and Spike is really that click.
Oh,
that
I love that scene.
It's really great.
That people still fall for that Anne Rice routine. I love that line. Yeah,
it really is.
That is such a good line.
God, he's got some incredible lines. You Uncle
Oh,
Tom
that is so problematic, though. Oh,
Damn,
God, it
Spike.
gave me the willies.
So awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, while we're on that scene, shall we address
Yes.
the sire issue?
Yes. Okay, that drove me crazy. How can Xander be that stupid? He doesn't know what the word sire means, even if he doesn't know what it means in terms of vampires.
Oh, I was talking about the fact
he's
that
not.
he's not
Joss
his
has now
sire.
gone back and said that, like, sire means, you know, anybody within, you know, the ancestral line. And I'm like, bullshit, you just did not know at the time.
Bullshit. Yeah, you didn't know it at the time.
Right,
and you
exactly.
retconned it.
Joss is pulling a George Lucas on that one. That is...
Yeah, that's total retcon.
I'm going to use that, David.
Well, beyond that, this is, I mean, as far as Xander's ignorance is concerned, this is an episode where our protagonist...
Oh my god,
that
bothered me so much,
Right.
just because that
I think we can let it
that
go.
joke was so super awkward, because when somebody said, I made lemonade, why is the first thing Willow said, how much sugar you put in it? That's just, like, it's such an awkward setup for a joke.
Yeah.
The Cordy,
The
I
punchline,
mean, the payoff is what makes it worth
actually
it.
really good.
And
True.
Willow's lemon face is
Absolutely.
really great.
And Willow's spit
Willow's
take
lemon
also.
face is adorable.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think they could have done it without, like, the little buildup of how much sugar did you put in it. They could have just had Willow had it
it's
and then
awkward.
had the lemon face.
Right.
Yeah.
But alas.
It just could have been, I made lemonade, and then she tries it,
Yeah.
and it's horrible.
Then she could have put
Duh,
the
yeah.
line. Yeah, if you just reverse that whole, I made lemonade, and Willow's like, cool, let me taste it. Ah, did you put sugar in this? It would have played much.
It's possible,
better.
because, I mean, like, for the way it's written, it could have been read either of those ways, so I'm actually thinking that it might have been a direction thing, where that was just a part that was directed poorly, so. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shit in this episode that, like, really great lines. Like, I really like with Spike, Giles saying, Spike, it's a little unorthodox, and Buffy says, maybe he's reformed.
Maybe he's reformed.
Yeah,
Well, and actually, by comparison to all these vampires following the Anointed One who are super into ritual and things like that, he is reformed.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember watching this episode for the first time and being legitimately afraid. Like, I was not afraid of, you know, any of these weird Anointed Ones and his followers, and they really... I agree with Spike.
A little
Less
more
ritual,
fun.
more fun.
Yeah.
More fun.
Yeah.
I was never afraid of the Anointed One, but from this point forward, having done this last rewatch, at the point where I realized he looked like Jennifer Lawrence with a bowl cut, I'll never take this
I'm
episode
Googling right
seriously.
now.
Please do. It's So if we're talking about the scene in the school, I kind of
Oh my
wanna-
god, he does. Sorry.
again, yeah, he does talk about family and sort of, you know, what's going on in Greenwald and Whedon's family that they think it's an appropriate thing for a mother to be like, yeah, go ahead and climb into the ceiling because my mother would fight me herself. I'm very interested in why Joyce is so sanguine about about Buffy.
I got
going
no
into the
idea.
ceiling.
Yeah, no.
True.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
She that's a complete 180 from her attitude.
There's a lot of logical problems in this episode. Like,
you mean the vampires having preternatural knowledge?
well,
of
there's
food,
that.
but not strong enough to break down
I want to
school
know
floor?
why Giles thought that it was a really good idea to make weapons in the library on fucking parent-teacher night.
Because nobody ever goes.
Anybody walks in, they could just be like, "We're doing a course on medieval weaponry. It's not
Right.
real."
And can I just make an aside, because I made a note here, just well, in terms of weaponry. How badass did Willow look?
Yeah.
And how proud of herself did she look with that damn crossbow?
So badass.
It's just like, and actually, I think that sort of foreshadowing also because of what she does with the bust later when she just like saves Cordy's.
A Willow weapon note. That's not a fucking mace. That's a flail.
Great moments.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Like they
but
don't call it a mace, Willow, but okay.
I could see Willow not having full knowledge.
I knew it off the top of my head.
Yet.
Give time.
I didn't.
Well, right, but
I didn't either.
I guess she doesn't play D&D because we always we
Yeah,
learned
I
those
never
things
played
early.
D&D.
yeah.
No, I played Magic: The Gathering. So.
Speaking of the weapon making scene,
Mhm.
I note that another significant new thing in this episode. This is the first time Cordelia's
yeah.
participating without a Cordelia-related
no
reason.
For her to participate. I mean, she whines about it, but she does, and she does it grudgingly, but willingly, and
Yeah. Well, the fact that she's there at all with these people that until now she has essentially like made.
Yeah.
A big
Well, she
public
would be
point of
there
pointing
on
out exclusions.
Saturday if she didn't have leg wax.
Mhm.
Like, who goes and gets her legs waxed at like 8
That's very
o'clock
true.
on
Yeah, I
6
mean,
o'clock on a Saturday night?
but
okay, I do love Cordy's line about she sees Buffy's mom, and she's like, "That is a woman who knows how to moisturize. Did it skip a generation?"
Did it skip a generation?
Yes, of course. And it's a huge
Yep,
compliment
Cordy's got some
because
good
Joyce
one-liners.
does
Yeah.
look absolutely amazing. Christine Sutherland is very beautiful. Yeah, I just, Cordy's just hanging out. She's helping people with the stuff. She's
making a better
Yeah.
steak than Xander, who presumably has
It's
more
the moment
experience.
that Cordy
Yeah.
becomes a full
yes, she is a
Scooby.
full Scooby at this point.
Mhm.
I do want to know where the fuck did Buffy learn to cut vegetables? Because, like, I mean, I know she's using a big ass like sword to do it, but yeah, but I mean, come on,
It's
like,
a machete. Yeah.
she'd be raked over the coals unchopped.
It's a great sight gag, though.
It's a great sight gag.
Yeah,
but
they were
those
really
cucumbers did make me
they were
like-
really big, and she
It's my own
wasn't
problem.
actually cutting
Sorry,
all the
Mom.
way through the cucumber. So
But they look beautiful on the plate when they started reaching for the cut peppers. So
As someone who doesn't know how to cook anything, I just don't pay
I
attention
do. I
to
love
the
cooking,
peppers.
so I notice stuff like that. And considering they almost had those peppers in their mouths, they need to fucking eat those because you can't put them back on the plate.
True.
Just keep
I'm
them.
like, yeah.
yeah, you touch them, you don't put them back. No.
Yeah, there are a lot of sight gags in this episode. A lot of gags in general that I think are funny, but also kind of infuriate me. I appreciate the humor, but why did nobody think to make sure
I know, right?
that Willow and Cordelia were alive? I mean, Buffy even hinted at they might be dead, and nobody thought to look for them.
Right, nobody looks for them, and they're there in the middle of the night praying.
Which makes
still.
the episode pass the Bechdel test, by the way. And
Okay.
actually, Joyce's
You're right.
conversations of Buffy flying colors.
That's true.
And of course, there's actually 2 period jokes in this episode, which I don't.
The fact that Buffy only carries a yo-yo, a tampon, and a steak in her purse.
Those are the essentials.
Here's what the exact script note was. Xander races to the table, opens Buffy's purse, claws through lipstick, makeup, hairbrush, a tampon. Xander, he drops it like a hot tampon, finally finds a steak and runs.
Like a hot tampon. You'll know those
Yeah.
classic hot tampons.
Yeah.
I mean, that actually is a really good visual, especially if you're a girl, because I have a feeling some guys might, at least on the screen that I'm watching on, it's not that apparent. But I thought it was really good. But then, when Cordy's like, well, don't let me kill anybody unless it's my time of the month. And I'm just like, really? Really?
And
even if it's true,
back
really,
in
we
the
have to go
day,
there?
everybody was
1997
super
we
convinced
do.
that Buffy was on her period during this episode. Not only because I mean, like, women will often carry tampons just at any time. Just
I carry them just in case someone else if
Someone
I'm in a
needs
bathroom
them,
and someone's like, "Hi,
Yeah.
I'm stuck in the stall," and I'm like, "Yeah, here you go,
it
honey."
wasn't
That's
just
what
that,
women
but
do.
it was Spike's line about "I smell the blood of a nice, ripe girl." Everybody was convinced that Buffy was on her period, and I was like,
Oh, okay.
"Yeah,
Actually,
that's when
it
you're
should be the opposite.
ripe."
She should
Yeah,
be ovulating because I think that's when
Yeah.
your pheromones change. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
otherwise
honestly, I guess that makes more sense because I always expected him to sort of rhyme it with like plum or something else that rhymes with the sound, but
maybe this is the first indication he's a bad poet.
Maybe. But no, I was clear they were going for the oh, this isn't going to actually rhyme gag, which is
fair enough.
I mean that's not that joke's as old as Angel. So that's
who is 240 or 270 in this episode, depending on who's doing the math. If I'm doing it, it's wrong.
Well, if the episode takes place when it airs,
and also,
then it's 241.
What the fuck is Giles's, dating? Because Spike is barely 200.
Oh.
No, Spike is 117 in this episode.
Yeah, I have to say,
was distracted.
Well, Giles is not having a good dating day entirely because Jenny and her techno-pagan people and the vampires have the date of St. Vigius correct. Giles does not. And by the way, they blew a joke here, because when Jenny says you should read a book, that came out after 1066. No, 1066 is the Norman invasion. The Gregorian calendar came into use in 1582. That is the correct
we
joke.
do have the joke of Giles putting his hands in the wet paint, which, I just need to mention that because Giles putting his hands in the wet paint is...
Yeah.
Good side gag.
I had a note about dating. Because they say, Willow has a joke about 2 centuries of dating and how many women that would be. And knowing what we know now about Angel and Jealous, all that stuff, I don't think he did a lot of dating. He was sort of like a one-woman vampire. I'm sure he messed around with Drew quite a bit and maybe sexually assaulted whores, but...
Okay, here is... I will speak as the person who obsessively has watched Angel like a million times. As Liam, back when he was Liam of Galway, he hooked up a lot because he was, really ne'er-do-well, barfly, always hooking up with bar wenches. Then he met Darla, and then when he was with Darla, he was fucking with Darla until Drusilla came into things. Yeah. And that was...
And I think even then he was still with Darla.
Yeah, actually they did not have threesomes because that comes up in the girling question when Darla and Drusilla had the threesome with the Immortal, and Angel said, "You never let us do that."
True, I remember that. But even as Liam though, he's sleeping around.
That's
he's
true.
Not
okay.
dated.
Yeah, and then
anyway,
after he was with Darla up until he was cursed, and after that he was hiding on his own. From then on, he first of all was eating criminals and eating rats. Then he ended up hiding in an apartment and in the Hyperion for a while.
Well, he did hang out with the Rat
That episode is so weird in his backstory.
Right.
It's like, when would this fucking happen? No. No.
I don't know.
He took a break from being tortured
with, who would do that?
Sinatra.
And then by the 70s, after he got Eliza Dushku's brother killed, then he became the homeless bum guy. So yeah, I don't think he was doing a lot of dating.
Right. No. Mm-mm. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. Also, I note that Willow is kind of conflating dating with fucking.
True.
Yes.
Which are not the same thing.
Yeah, but this is Willow. She's naive
yes, exactly. I'm not saying that it's wrong that she does that. I'm just saying, it's like she's wrong to do that, but it's not surprising that she does it.
Right. I mean, she doesn't know. She doesn't know at that point. Oh, can we talk about the fact that I didn't get the joke of the name of this episode?
I did not get it until last year either.
I didn't get it until I saw someone do a actual side-by-side comparison of Buffy versus John
McClane.
Not McCain. Yeah. McClane. in the
McLean,
because
yeah.
I've never seen
McLean.
Die Hard. It literally took me 19 years to understand the name of this episode, and so I just have to admit
I
that because
believe
I'm a
that
Cuba.
somebody had to point it out to me. Like I was like reading like TV.com like trivia or IMDb or something where they had mentioned that it was an homage to Die Hard, and I'm like, oh, that's why it's named like that.
Yeah.
It always seemed like a weird name to me.
I always thought it was like a school is real
Yeah.
hard and Buffy's gonna have a hard day, and no, I'm like I felt like
Yeah, I have
bonehead.
seen Die Hard. I am not a big fan. I am not a big fan of just Bruce Willis in general. So, like, I do like understand like being in the ceilings and shit, and you know, taking out the vampires one by one. We were just missing like some German vampires. Oh God, imagine if Alan Rickman had played Spike.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
everybody would be shipping Buffy. I'm sorry, because he's Alan
Yes,
Rickman
yeah,
and he ships with
in that
everybody
case,
in the
yes.
world. He's amazing.
Yeah, maybe if Buffy had said Yippee-ki-yo, Kaye or whatever, motherfucker. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll make you feel better. I actually, until you mentioned it like last week, because I'm not really good at like paying attention to titles. I like completely missed
Okay.
the joke too.
So I don't feel
Yeah.
as bad.
Well, let me put it this way. It can't be that good a joke because I actually I realized this a long time ago, but I keep realizing it because I keep forgetting.
Okay. So I don't. Thank you for making me feel better about myself. I really love you guys.
Yes. And I've also never seen
Okay.
Die Hard either. So,
Well,
What, really?
I saw it, but I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
So. This is a random thing that I'm just going to throw out there because I don't understand it. There's like, in the middle of a thing, I think that when I want to say it's when Joyce is in the room with the teachers, there's a poster of a one-legged guy on crutches in the background. And I'm still trying to figure out what the hell that is. What is it related to? What does this mean? Can somebody explain this?
I don't
'Cause
know, but
I'm
it's
missing
brilliant
something here.
because when Buffy dodges Sheila's axe and then takes it and smacks it, it hits that poster in the middle of the leg that's
Right at
dropped
the
off.
leg, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed that part of it.
It's
but-
great. It's a visual
So it's just
gag.
a visual
and,
gag
yeah.
that.
So it hits right under where the leg would be, and it's like, yeah. So there's the visual gag.
Yeah, joke. So, yeah, I think as far as my notes are concerned, again, the only thing I have is this emphasis on, like, family and the importance of it, not just with Joyce and not just with the, like, appearance of Cordy sort of fitting in with the Scoobies, but also the fact that the reason Buffy ultimately defeats Spike is because she isn't alone, which is a theme, I think, that plays out through the rest of the series.
And you know, and
So that's why I
Spike
like this
mentions it,
episode
a Slayer
so
with
much.
family and friends. That wasn't in the brochure. Yeah.
Right.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the brochure.
On a 90s fashion note, Buffy's overalls with the baby T gives me life. Like, I love it.
Isn't Willow wearing overalls in the beginning of this episode as well? And they're both wearing pigtails.
Yeah, and also
She
the fact
is,
that
yeah.
Willow's wearing a T-shirt
Yeah.
with Scooby-Doo on it.
again? Again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, the first time I watched this, I thought it was Scrappy Doo, and then I was like, no, it's actually Scooby.
By
The
this
t-shirt she's wearing
time-
in the episode has Scooby-Doo on it. It's like the pink one.
Buffy is not. Buffy
By
is
this
not
time
evil. She would not
in
wear a
the
Scrappy Doo
fandom, they were
Exactly.
calling them the Scooby Gang online, and I think that the writing staff were the production was responding to that kind of stuff by putting in Scooby Doo references.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was another chicken and egg thing where I didn't know whether that's kind of like they were kind of hinting at it already and the fandom picked it up, but yeah, I did notice that.
Yeah.
So
I know I pointed out.
Yeah,
her
I think it
wearing a
was in the
Scooby-Doo
first
t-shirt
season,
in
yeah.
an earlier episode.
Yeah.
So this is not the first time. Yeah, it was in the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
but it was there.
seeing those like over because I remember having those giant overalls. So sometimes watching Buffy just takes me back to that like, oh, overalls.
And in today's things that would never happen in shows today, we have they cut the phones.
right.
Yes.
I literally had a thought, well, if y'all had cell phones like they definitely did in 1997,
it kind of
be an issue.
It doesn't surprise me that there's nobody that has a cell phone like at parent teachers night in 1997. Like now, every single person would have their fucking phone.
Like 3 people would be on Instagram and be like, I already called the cops. I don't know why y'all are freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah, because I knew some people. I mean, they were wealthy and they were mostly for business, but people did have.
But I don't remember ever like. Again, we talked about beepers.
No, not everybody,
I
but I knew a couple people.
My dad had a cell phone.
My parents certainly did. We did have a giant old school phone that we would charge up. My father would charge up, make me keep in the car when I drove from my home back to college 3 hours away. Just in case something happened on the side of the road. And I'm like, Dad, that phone is not going to get signal in the middle of nowhere, but still it made him feel better. But yeah, none of us had cell phones. Yeah. Beepers, yeah.
My dad did, but I think that was largely because of his job.
Yeah, and my folks had one because they owned a flower shop, and so they had one in the delivery van that they could get a hold of, and it was business related, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't get one till.
Yeah, I guess around that time, my then boyfriend had one of the guys in his band had a cell phone for business, but he was always on it to the point where my ex actually wrote a song called "Cell Phone," and talking about this guy's cell phone use, which is really funny in retrospect because now everybody has cell phone against my ear, cell phone loud and clear, and I don't remember the rest of it, but that was like part of the line. But so they were around then. It was just like I said, it was for business, and it was or usually like or rich obnoxious people.
Yeah, I would think that Cordelia would have one, but
exactly.
Yeah, true.
If not just for a status symbol.
Yeah, because I got my first cell phone in 1999, so.
There, at the time, and I was deep in the Buffy fandom at this point already, like in season 2, it was flourishing quite wonderfully, and I was really into it, but there were so many fanfics written about Willow and Cordelia in that goddamn closet.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Well,
really?
I mean...
Yay, Femslash!
Buffy fandom was actually always really good with the Femslash. Like it was really. I was really surprised when I went over to things like Harry Potter, when it's like, oh wait, nobody writes this, but I was just in this fan. I mean, I guess it comes from the fact that there were so many female characters in Buffy and Angel that you actually had enough like developed characters that you could pair them up together.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, Buffy's always been really good about the Femslash. I mean, the Buffy.
Oh my god, yeah,
is big. It's huge.
Oh yeah, that I remember. Even when it wasn't in the fandom, I used to be like literally tripping over that stuff on like LiveJournal or what have you. So
it's huge. It still is huge.
And I just want to reiterate, I fucking hate Sheila. Like, I really hate Sheila. And I mean, I'm trying to figure it out, and I think a lot of it comes down, the actress is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not very good. I mean, because you want her to be like this really obnoxious bad girl, but I
she's
think
just really
to
disaffected.
Sort of like her in a comedic way at the beginning. Yeah, she's not good.
She has no redeeming qualities.
The actress...
She's a horrible person.
This really was the actress's last film role. She had, she only had three acting gigs. She was the childlike empress in Neverending Story 2, so she wasn't in the first one. Yeah.
Oh, 2.
And she was in an episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and I forget what the other credit she had was. But Alexandra Johns is her name, and she's actually gone on to become a quite successful documentary producer.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
Ooh,
maybe
good
she
for her.
realized, or she went on, 50 more auditions after this, didn't get anything, and smartly realized, maybe it's time to find something else.
I really disliked her. They left her alive, so it feels like they, it's like, oh, maybe we'll bring her back, and it's like, no, please don't. Because the character, she could have been interesting, but I don't like that, Buffy was defending her to Snyder. It's like, covering up that she has been out. It's like, Buffy, why are you putting yourself on the line to possibly get into trouble for someone who is not helping you and someone who does...
Right. It wasn't like it was not like Snyder said, like, the two of you have to, do this together or you both fail and I'm throwing you both out. So, yeah you would think she'd let her
But that's not Buffy. She doesn't hang people out to dry.
I know they did not leave her alive. They left her undead.
Okay.
David.
Okay, yeah, I get it, yeah.
Technical point, but,
Was this the last time the words cream rinse was ever used by anyone ever again?
I think so.
No, I still use it because I think a lot of people are like this. Ooh, I bought this new shampoo and conditioner and it's going to do all these wonderful things to my hair, and it doesn't. So I have been known to go, this new cream rinse is neither creamy or rinsey. But yeah, no, I remember it was used in the 80s and up to this point, but this is about the time that particular term just stopped being a thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, having grown up in the 60s, cream rinse was a thing, but yeah, now it's all conditioner. I don't even think they make it
most of it
market it as a cream
it's
rinse.
basically the same thing as conditioner with very few. But yeah, I love that line though. I spent a good part of my allowance on this new cream rinse and it's neither creamy or rinsey. Just a fave of mine for some reason.
I like Joyce following it up with "Life is hard, dear."
Yeah.
Yes. The struggle is real.
That would be what it is now. It's the struggle is real.
Yeah, totally. And what's really weird is, like, there's the weird parallel that I picked up because, like, later on, Drew is, like, futzing with her hair. And then she says, I'm sometimes worried that my hair's all going to fall out and go bald. And, and Spike says, don't worry, darling, it never will. But it's like, I don't know why they're just creating this sort of
if
parallel. If
anybody's going to go completely bald, it's going to be
hair,
Spike
so.
with that fucking peroxide.
Yeah.
Right. I'm James Marsters has said how
I believe that
was,
he had to bleach his hair every week.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
Yeah, he added sugar to it so it wouldn't sting as much.
He said,
yeah.
Well, that's like if anybody watched like Xena and Hercules, Carl Urban when he was playing Cupid had to do the same thing. Because basically, all he wore was his peroxided hair, a pair of wings, and a pair of leather trousers. And I think towards the end, either he stopped playing the character, or he had to wear a wig because he was like burning his scalp too badly. And he was doing other roles.
Yeah, and he also did not have nearly as many appearances as Spike. Like,
yeah. But I'm saying he complained. He's complained.
Yeah.
So James Marster had.
Oh yeah, and I listened to it. There's a lovely podcast called You Must Remember This that has the.
I've been listening to that.
I think there's an episode where
I
they
love
talk
that.
About,
oh my God,
it is so good. But they talk about, I believe, Jean Harlow and the bleaching and like how painful it was, because if you're going to keep your hair that white color, you have to do the roots like.
I just
really
looked it up.
Week.
Spike appeared in 120 episodes over both Buffy and Angel. So, I mean, if you think if they did 100, if that's 120 weeks of, work, and I mean, it wouldn't be solid. So, I mean, and he probably, I think he let it grow out a little bit in the off season, but.
Well, and he grew it out in the off season, and then in the beginning of season 7.
Oh, yeah.
It is grown out a little bit. And so he gets a slight reprieve, but when he becomes Spike again.
But yeah, no, he had
back to it. Yeah,
he had 7 years where he kept that hair.
Yeah, it probably ruined. Did he?
Yeah, I believe so.
I would. I
should probably pull out the picture that I got when I met James, because I met him right after season 5 of Angel aired, or it was airing at the time. And I believe he wasn't like completely bald, but he had like the really close cropped. Yeah.
No, he buzzed it all off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I will find that. I should actually find all of the pictures I have of the various Buffy cast members, because I've got a picture of me.
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes, we've talked about that. I've got one of me and James, one of me and Vinny Kartheiser.
You love him.
I remember when that happened.
You probably were like apoplectic. You're like,
Yeah.
I can't handle it.
And then I've got a shot of me with everybody who was at that convention. So it was like Vinny, Camden Toy, Jonathan M. Woodward, Amy Acker when she looked like she was smuggling a basketball because she was like super pregnant. And I believe Bianca Lawson was there. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it was
Nice.
a pretty nice group. Like, it was weird that I got that shot because I guess they had added it at the last minute to, like, I was in the dealer's room at the time, and they literally walked into the dealer's room, and it's like, yeah, we have all of the guests together, so if anybody wants to come get a picture with them for, like, $75, you know, come now. And I'm like, fuck yeah!
All right. Well, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I will.
I'd love to see that.
I will scan them and put them up on this episode's feed. So
Yeah.
Sadly, I have never met any of the cast, and I'm actually kicking myself, but there wasn't like personal things. When I was at the Star Trek convention last September, there was a group shot with the DS9 people, and Armin Shimmerman was there, and I just couldn't afford it, so I didn't get it done. But
yeah.
he's probably the only cast member I really would want to, just because. Plus, these days, I mean, like.
Oh yeah, a bunch of them do. And,
like,
some of them
anymore?
do like Galley, which we go to. Like, yeah, like Amber and Juliet have come to.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amber has definitely been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to say the girl who played Harmony. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was there because I remember seeing her, and she was about as wide as my arm. I can't think of her name right now, but
I feel
walked
really
by
bad
her.
that I can't think of her
So-
name right now. Mercedes
I think there was
McNabb.
an early-
Yeah.
Mercedes McNabb.
Mercedes.
Yeah, and I'm almost
Yeah.
positive that Juliet Landau's also gone a couple of
Yeah.
times. So, yeah. Well, I think
Yeah, well,
what
I think she's
happened is
also done
that
Big Finish, so
Juliet
that would
had
make sense.
come to the convention and then did Big Finish because she met the Big Finish people at kind of like what happened with Chase Masterson, where she just kind of become friendly with them. Sorry
Right.
for our listeners. A couple of us are big. We go to Gallifrey 1 every year, which is the Doctor Who convention in Los Angeles.
And some of us really want to go, but we just can't afford it.
Yeah.
That would be me. One of these years I'll get to Galley.
Never would have
and
guessed.
Hang out with y'all for a weekend. So you should come too, Logan.
I am currently unemployed and also a student.
Yes,
so-
me too. Once I'm not an unemployed student, you and I will go out there.
If
so
if we can get enough of an audience,
Yes.
maybe we'll do a GoFundMe to get enough money for you guys specifically.
Right.
Get Andie and Logan.
And I
to
also want to
Gallifrey.
say, just because it's funny, that the fact that I'm on the East Coast and David is on the East Coast and Claire's on the East Coast, and I usually only see them. I see them more at Galley than I do like at any other time of the year. So it's like really sad that we have to go to Los Angeles to meet people who are, especially like me and David, because we're like
we're not
about
that far.
90 minutes
Well,
apart.
admittedly,
So.
Jen and I do get to see each other at Li Who because that's local.
Yes.
So,
But
And occasionally movie premiere things at the
Yes.
big
So,
things, but-
so
This episode is amazing.
As my final thought on it, it's so
Yes.
fucking good.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites,
Yeah.
and I'd forgotten how much I loved it until
Yeah.
I rewatched it, and then saw it like I watched
Oh,
it
it's
3
so
times last
good.
night. So
this is an excellent episode. It
Yes,
really,
definitely.
really is.
Yeah.
It's a must see. It is and not just because of how important it is to the mythology.
Right.
no, it's just really well written. It's well directed,
Yeah.
well acted, and it's funny. It's scary. It's like everything that
Yeah,
Buffy should
and I
be.
mean, not only does it
all
have the
in the
iconic
43
beginning,
minutes
it's got a
of it,
super iconic ending where you setting up the changing of the guard in terms of the bad guys. And I mean, I know they did it because Andrew J. Furchland, his voice had begun to change and he was getting too tall. That's why he's sitting the entire time.
Yeah, Joss originally wanted him to be the villain of season 2.
I
I'm
know,
like, how
right?
would that even work, Joss? That was a dumb idea. That was just a dumb idea.
Yeah, I guess it's
He
not
really
the
is.
actor's fault, but the Anointed one really
He's
is
really
the annoying
not,
one.
yeah.
He's not that interesting a character.
I have to wonder. I mean, if you think about it, the only thing the annoying one really has a purpose for
To
at
the
any
Master,
time
yeah.
is to send Buffy to the Master in Prophecy Girl. So why is he so important to all the other vampires?
Because they're super religious nuts. Like that. That's.
But no, but I mean, what? But he has no purpose as a religious figure. He just
he doesn't
exists.
have any power. He doesn't have any wisdom. It's not like the Dalai Lama.
Right.
Well,
where,
I mean,
he's
I know a
reborn
lot of
or anything like
religious
that, so
nuts, and a lot of their people don't have a whole lot to do either. So,
I mean, okay, admittedly, maybe he just gives them something to do.
He gives them something to worship or protect or something. He's like the golden child.
But usually, like they said, like there, it's like the Dalai Lama thing where, you find the small pen, and supposedly, the spirit has been reborn, so you believe, and they radiate power, and they do all sorts of mystical things to actually find the kid. With the anointing one, he doesn't even do that. He's really, really bland. They never give him, like, any...
They don't,
They couldn't let him do anything because they couldn't have him stand up because he was getting too tall.
Yeah, couldn't stand up.
Right.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing it for the first time and, like, just not knowing what happened to him. And then, Spike just does the thing. And I was just like, oh my God, that was brilliant. That's, like, the best way to get rid of, like, a lame character.
Sends the anointed one up into the sunlight. That was really shocking. I remember when that first happened. And it was the minute I was like, all right, this guy is
and then just at the end, let's see what's on TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes, I assume I assume they're going to go watch Passions.
I watched Passions.
When did
I
Passions
loved
start?
Passions. It was
I watched the
so
first episode of Passions
terrible.
as it aired.
It was so bad. I loved it so much.
It was the first season.
That was the one with Juliet Mills and the witches and
Timmy and
the weird one.
Okay, listen. First season was standard.
It was
soap opera fare. Okay, it got weird as we moved into the new millennium, and I feel like they felt like we survived, so let's just make it weird.
Yeah, I think I watched that occasionally just because it was so odd, but I'm old school, so I watched Dark Shadows when I was like a small child.
Yep.
When I got home from school every day, and then would scare myself and not even know what was going on, but vampires and witches and werewolves and all sorts of creepy stuff. And anyway,
and
there are
a startling number of Dark Shadows episodes.
Yes.
That thing went on forever. Friends of mine were actually watching the DVDs. They never finished them because there are just too many of them.
Yeah, there's a zillion sets. That's one of the reasons I haven't started buying them or whatever, because it's just not. I don't have that kind of.
So I think we'll all agree
anyway.
that School Hard, one of the best. Next time we'll be reviewing Inca Mummy Girl, which will be exciting for a couple of us because it's the first appearance of Oz. But until then, grr, arg.
Grr, 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 harg.
Grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
Grr, arg.
We'd like to thank everyone who downloaded the podcast, and an extra special thanks to everyone who shared, liked, and subscribed on social media.
Yay!
But this is a special episode because we've actually got some comments this month. Or this week, I guess. Before we get into that, I just want to apologize for the very, very long break that we've had in between the episodes, and which is entirely my fault.
Well, it's partially my fault too, but
with the drop of mine as well.
Everybody has situations in their lives that need attention, and so it's nobody's fault. We all have lives. We don't get paid for this. Though, if you do want to give us money, feel free to send a check. P.O. Box,
we're
my
not proud.
house.
We'll take money. But,
yeah,
and as the song goes, life is what happens to you while you're making other plans. So stuff happens.
I kind of look at this as an open source event. It's
Yeah.
Anyways, so on our episode about the Buffy movie, we got a comment from Dawn, which is, "Hey guys, I'm getting caught up and I wanted to tell you that I love this podcast episode. Love the tangents and digressions mixed in with Buffy."
Oh, that's so great, because we're always worried about all of our crazy tangents. So Dawn, hi. Nice to... We love having your comments, and we really appreciate all your support. Dawn and I went to college together, so I'm really glad to see that someone from a past lives are listening. So thank you for liking our tangents.
It's really good because I don't know how to do it other than to have tangents in it.
Everybody thank Dawn. Say 1, 2, 3, yay Dawn. 1, 2, 3.
Yay Dawn!
Yay Dawn! So we also got a comment on our episode Angel. This is from Diana. So, do any of you guys ship Bangle, which is Buffy and Angel? Not feeling the love here. Lol.
Aww. What was her name again? I'm sorry.
Diana.
Hi, Diana. Well, we're feeling your love just for writing a comment.
Yes.
I don't ship Bangle.
If I remember correctly, we were kind of rough
I think we made it pretty clear
in that episode
that we were not Bangle shippers. I mean, I'm not a shipper of much of anything as like shipping per se, but yeah, I think everyone was sort of like, nope, Bangle, no. But that of course doesn't mean that other people can't ship Bangle.
Yeah, we're of the opinion of ship and let ship. Like, we are totally cool with what other people are into. But I mean, for me, Buffy and Angel, I only got interested in Buffy and Angel when both of them knew it was doomed. Like, for the season 1 and 2, when they're all kind of all over each other, it's like, meh, I'm not really into that. But by season 3, and they're like, we know this isn't gonna work, I'm like, this is kind of interesting now.
You know, and I remember when I was originally watching these episodes live or on my VCR at the end of the night, I was really invested in Buffy and Angel. Like, I didn't want them to necessarily work out because I think it really does mirror that very intense flush of first love, you know, especially for Buffy and all that she goes through. It was really relatable to me. I mean, obviously, I didn't sleep with someone and they turned into like an evil vampire, but I certainly did in my past, you know, sleep with people who did turn out to be evil dickwads. So I think it did, especially when I was Buffy's age. So I did relate to what she was going through. Mm-hmm. I didn't necessarily ship them, but I certainly related, and I was very invested, especially come to the end of the second season, because I identify with Buffy so much that, you know, it did crush me when she had to kill him. I did cry a lot.
Spoiler.
So. Yeah, ship and let ship.
As somebody who wasn't actually on the Angel podcast, I'm going to jump in for a little bit. When I was watching, I mean, for me, I don't ship anybody on the show. I'm okay with all the relationships on the show, basically. I like Angel and Buffy as much as I like anybody else, pretty much. But I would agree with Andie. I mean, my feeling is also that whole sort of first love, intense, you know, I can't live without you kind of thing. I mean, I have actually been with people who are at least turned out to be evil emotional vampires, so I kind of get that. But yeah, and again, like, if you ship it, it's cool. If you don't ship it, that's cool too. You know, ship what you like, be happy. So.
Yeah, at 43, I look back on those episodes and I'm like, oh my god, guys, really? But at 22, 23, I was like, doomed love. You know, so I think it came from a perspective, and generally my shipping preferences is to, like, go off, read whatever it is I want to read about the specific couple that I'm into, but sort of take at face value what's happening on the show.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about Buffyverse couplings. I think other than Willow and Oz, I didn't like a single couple when it was happening. I was always much more interested before they happened.
I think for me, the other, Willow and Oz, and also I'm going to say Spike and Drusilla. I mean, I just think they're wonderful together. But
well, yeah, Spike and Drew is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do ship that, but not in the, oh my god, if it doesn't stay this way, my world is crushed and I'm never watching again thing. I just prefer them, like I prefer Willow and Oz, but
if you actually think about Spike and Drew, they were actually only together for a couple of episodes before, spoiler, Angelus comes back, yeah.
A couple of episodes in 100 and something years, yeah.
Well, yeah.
As someone who doesn't really ship as such, I mean, I kind of, like, I watch the show, and what's on the show is what is for me. But having come in to Buffy around, like, sort of the early middle of season 3, for me, when I did finally watch all the backstory, the whole Buffy Angel thing was kind of compressed. So for me, it's interesting because I kind of see it in terms of how it kept changing. It sort of started with the, yeah, you're a jerk, I don't like you. And then the kind of like, well, I like you, oh, but you're a vampire, so we can't do this. And then it's like, well, okay, maybe we can kind of date. And then in season 2, it gets kind of hot and heavy. But then Angel Angel gets unsouled again and turns into a monster. So that's over. So then you get that stretch. And then you get the season 3 where it's like, yeah, we really care about each other, but no. And so for me, that's all kind of compressed. So it's not like I had to sit through 2 years of watching that. So for me, it's just narratively actually kind of interesting because it kept changing as you went on. And if you do watch it like all in a bunch, you don't have the, oh, this again thing so much.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And also, I think that the show is about a group of, I'm not going to say just Buffy, a group of people that start out at 16 years old and end up by the last season, like they're 22, 23.
Yeah,
right? They're not older, you know, and because of all their adult responsibility with the slaying and the Hellmouth and the helping the slaying on the Hellmouth, you know, I think we see them as more grown up, but I think each of Buffy's relationships really mirrors where she's at a certain point, and it's very relatable because I think a lot of us have had those kind of relationships, the doomed high school love, the sort of let me get together with the guy that's super steady and stable, but gosh, I'm only 20, I don't really want that, actually. The terrible boyfriend, you know, and then, you know, spoiler alert, Buffy wants to have her cookies baked for a while, and that's a good choice too.
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned is, like, this is actually one of the things that I love about the show, is that it's a show that actually has character development. The characters do change over time. And and as a result, and because it starts as, and to some extent always is, a show about supernatural things being a metaphor for actual life issues, you have those changes mirrored in the way that works over time. And I think is one of the great strengths of the show.
Totes.
So hopefully we answered that question somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And if not, write again.
We like all kinds of shipping. We really do. You know,
we'll try to go a bit easier.
Yeah, we
Buffy
should probably
Angel.
sort of look at it in the perspective of like, well, Buffy's like 16. Like Angel, I have issues with him. He's climbing in her window. He's watching her sleep. It's very proto Twilight. But
yes.
Right now, my big ship that I've super gotten into and gone back and read fan fiction all the way from like, you know, the 6th and 7th season are Buffy and Tara. I'm all about that right now. So
ooh, I like it.
It's really good. There's some really good stuff out there. So
I can totally see that. Oh
yeah, I really like it. But I love all things Tara. She's my ultimate girlfriend.
Yeah, well, we'll have words about that when she comes on the show. But
okay.
That's okay. I love you anyway, Andie.
And I love you too, Jan, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, me personally, this is, you know, I'm not a big Tara fan, but maybe it'll be different rewatching it this time. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Maybe.
Well, for our fans, if you'd like your questions or comments read on the show, you can contact us on our website, returntothehellmouth.com, on YouTube at Return to the Hellmouth, on Tumblr and Facebook at Return to the Hellmouth, on Twitter at Hellmouth Return, and on email at returntothehellmouth@gmail.com. And if you write to us, we will do things like this again, where we talk about your comments and about how we feel about
we
them.
like getting feedback. Feedback is nice.
We do, and we thank everybody that gives it to us, whether it be on our social media or just, you know, people that tell me in passing when I see them that they're listening. So,
we will see you next Tuesday for Inca Mummy Girl.
say bye.
Bye.
Grr, arg.